So today we're going to talk about Python modules. And while Python modules is a big deal in the sense that Python modules is what makes Python, or one of the things that makes Python so incredibly cool and useful, because it allows Python to do pretty much anything you want it to. Even stuff that you can't do only in Python can be done with Python using modules, because a Python module can be written in Python and is commonly written in Python, but it can literally be written in any language, period. So that means it extends Python's abilities into all of these areas covered by all of these other specialized languages. And so all a module is in Python is code that lives outside of Python's main script, or whatever you're working on, the main thing that you're doing. A module is any Python accessible code that lives outside of that. Sometimes, and a lot of times, it's just another Python file that you're importing into what you're doing. Now, you've already had some experience in this class with importing modules. So we kind of have a vague sense of how they work, but we're going to get into a little bit more detail of how they work, how to find out more information about modules, and then we're going to actually create a module for our assignment this week, or for this module. So the advantage of using modules, like functions, modules make your code easier to understand, easier to track. They separate functionality of your program into very distinct areas and groups. It makes your code way more reusable, even more so than functions, because if we write functions and we put them in a module, then I can use them in all kinds of different programs. And there's a lot of things that you'll find yourself reusing if you go into software development, such as like checking to see if something is a valid password. That's something you would use in a lot of different programs. So if you write a good function that can take a string and return true or false to say whether it's a valid password or a strong password or not, then that's useful to you in a variety of programs. You can use that now in any kind of program where you're asking the user to create a password. Another common use for modules is things like encryption and decryption. So if you're storing sensitive user information in a database, you obviously want to encrypt that so that if somebody hacks into your database and manages to get their hands on that information, that all it is to them is a bunch of gibberish, because you've encrypted it, you've scrambled it up. But in order to use that in your program, you have to encrypt it and decrypt it constantly. So a module is very useful in that kind of thing, and reusing an encryption module is a common practice. It makes your code way more maintainable. For example, if you have that encryption module that I was just talking about, and you, let's say, have 128-bit encryption, and somebody manages to crack that, which frighteningly, AI is getting better and better at cracking encryption, which is one of the dangerous uses of AI. Maybe you want to just upgrade your encryption. Well, you don't have to. If you've written it as a module that you're pulling in and using, you can change from 128-bit encryption to 256-bit encryption and change nothing else about your program except that one module where those functions are stored. So it makes your code very maintainable, very upgradable, very easy to work with. So there's a lot of advantages to using modules.